She also tried to downplay this AP report that came out that claimed that half of her non-government meetings when she was Secretary of State were with people who had made donations, and sizable donations at that, to the Clinton Foundation. House Oversight Committee member Trey Gowdy joins us now. Good morning, sir. Good to have you back on the program. She says it's smoke, but there is no fire here. Your thoughts?
No, it's arson. It's pyromania. It's not smoke, Arthur, where every single thing she said proved to be false. That's the interesting thing about credibility and believability. You can't just keep it in one compartment. When you are a habitual serial liar in this facet of life, it tends to make people not believe you in other facets of life. So when she's talking about the Clinton Foundation, I go back and remember her saying there's no classified information. I only use one device. I did it for convenience, all of which were proven to be false.
Yeah. I don't see what the smoke is. It seems the only people that really had access to her is if you gave money. I doubt you could get in to see her when she was Secretary of State unless you donated.
That's right. Well, if this is normal behavior, then we certainly don't want more of it. I mean, think about it. If you were a Secretary of State and you were going to engage in pay to play, what would you do? You would try to cover your tracks. And hence, you see all these deleted emails and all this subterfuge. I feel sorry for Donna Brazile and the people who have to try to defend this because they know it's not right. But here's the real thing to think about. If you have all of these irregularities going on and she's Secretary of State, what will happen if she is president? Just imagine that.
The emails which were exposed by WikiLeaks revealed a very strong bias on the part of high officials in the Democratic Party for the candidacy of Hillary Clinton, and a very strong prejudice on the part of the same people towards the candidacy of Bernie Sanders, even though such bias and prejudice had been alleged by Sanders and denied by the Democratic National Committee. It even resulted in the resignation of the chair of the committee as a result of a unanimous request from the members of the committee and the intervention of President Obama himself. But in order to get this issue off the front page, the DNC and the Clinton campaign decided to blame, of all people, the Russians. They accused Vladimir Putin of being in cahoots with Donald Trump and having his intelligence services hack the DNC to expose emails to make Mrs. Clinton look bad and thereby benefit Donald Trump. But the Russians had nothing to do with it, because this week, a 30-year veteran of the National Security Administration, the NSA, the domestic spies who spy on all of us all the time, the former high-ranking NSA official who developed the software that the NSA now uses, which allows it to capture not just metadata but content of every telephone call, text message, email in the United States of every person in the United States of America. This individual said, guess what? The NSA hacked the Democratic National Committee. Why would the NSA hack the DNC? Because the members of the intelligence community simply do not want Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States, because she doesn't know how to handle state secrets, because some of the state secrets that she revealed use the proper true names of American intelligence agents operating undercover in the Middle East. When they lost their covers, they ran for their lives, and some of them didn't run fast enough and lost their lives. It's very telling that the intelligence community would feel so strongly about Mrs. Clinton that they would attempt to sabotage her campaign to prevent her from becoming their boss. It's also telling that these folks would break American law in order to, in their view, save it. Welcome to my channel.
The lesson for all of us: there is no privacy in this world. Hackers can get into your system. You can be tape recorded at any time by anybody. You can be photographed without your knowledge, and people can even listen to your private conversations while you're in your home using technology. What an awful situation.
Teddy Roosevelt once said, "Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people." John Bound.
The director of the FBI, although I disagree with his conclusion, I believe she should have been indicted. I agree with his findings. which is that she was extremely careless in handling top secret information. And now we are being asked to elect as our president someone who was extremely careless in handling national security information? Do they think we're stupid? Yes, yes, they do. The Clintons have always thought we were stupid. As I analyze this with these new revelations day after day after day, you literally can't tell where the Clinton Foundation ends and the Justice Department begins. Not this Justice Department, because this Justice Department is a disgrace.
Well, one of the big questions here, she said she separated out the personal emails. But one thing we don't have a definitive answer to is whether or not she considered foundation business to be personal. So did she dump all of the foundation-related emails with the yoga and the wedding plans?
Well, Martha, you just put your finger on the, not the $1 million question, the $100 million question. I'm sure she's going to have a press conference later this afternoon or whenever she has the next one. I hope somebody in your line of work will ask her, did you consider foundation emails to be personal or work-related? I have yet to see a single foundation email produced by the State Department that was sent by her. Yeah. So if she considered them to be personal, then we move into the facet where she and her lawyers had those emails deleted. And they didn't just push the delete button. They had them deleted where even God can't read them. They were using something called BleachBit. You don't use BleachBit for yoga emails or for bridesmaids emails.
Raises the question, what if it turns out, and this is actually what Clinton and her lawyer have said, the server has been scrubbed clean and any of those 30,000 emails that she destroyed that she said were about yoga lessons and Chelsea's wedding, what if they're not available? What does that tell you?
Well, I'll tell you what it tells you, Chris. I don't know whether you do yoga or not. I don't, so I don't have any yoga emails. But the greater steps that you take, clean something or delete something, that's a higher level of concealment. That's a higher level of consciousness of concealment. So your viewers have to ask themselves, to what lengths would they go to delete a yoga email? Would they call in forensic experts to triple wash a server so they could get rid of bridesmaids emails or yoga practice emails? Of course not.
Take a look.
Do you think the Chinese and or the Russians are reading your emails?
The answer is it is very likely. It is not without, outside the realm of possibility.
Question, Congressman, when the Inspector General for the Intelligence Committee says that on these private emails was information that came from satellite intercepts, imagery, or electronic surveillance, and you've got John Kerry saying it's very likely that foreign powers are reading his emails, does that raise the stakes here?
Absolutely. It was one of the most reckless decisions that have been made in public service in a long time.
Come out days later promising that you'll keep her on as Attorney General if you become president. You're right. We're fed up with your kind of government where the destruction of subpoenaed evidence with hammers and BleachBit and delete buttons are tolerated, where you simply ignore subpoenas and you destroy federal documents, where the head of the FBI, when called upon to explain before Congress why you're not being charged with a myriad of federal felonies, is so outclassed and so outlawyered that a 5-year-old could write an indictment based upon federal crimes. Hillary, you are a liar, and a pathological one at that. You're a cheat. You're dishonest, you are condescending, you are arrogant, contemptuous, and if you think that your half-assed apology will wipe the slate clean, you are wrong.
Diagnosed her campaign. And we'll look at 2005, she faints before a speech. 2009, she falls and breaks her elbow. 2011, falls boarding the airplane. 2012, falls, gets a concussion, can't testify at Benghazi, has to be delayed. In 2013, she needs the special lenses on her glasses to testify because of dizziness. February of this year, falls walking up the stairs. Recently, the coughing fits, the campaign. She jokes about.
Can I add one other thing?
Yeah.
When she did her interview with the FBI and we got that information, she actually said that she couldn't remember several times. So you think you can add one more?
I'm getting to that.
Here was reaction. Fox News contributors Ebony Williams and the host of Justice Judge Jeanine Pirro. Okay, well, first of all, she didn't wipe it clean with a cloth. She used bleach bit. If that doesn't prove criminal intent, I don't know. By the way, it wasn't one device. We now find out it's 13 to 14 devices.
Yes.
Okay, and they smashed them with a hammer. How did James Comey not come up with an indictment here?
You know, as you know, Jim is a friend of mine, or was when I was the DA. I have never been more disgusted with someone who was a former prosecutor and the way he has covered this up and gone to such great lengths to protect a woman.
But he did say there's more to come. And I think we have to pay attention to that. That's very important.
Chaffetz says that after reviewing documents released on Friday by FBI Director James Comey, he believes there may be evidence of, quote, obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence by Secretary Clinton and her employees and contractors.
House Republicans say despite the emails being under subpoena, a new round of deleting begins, including the use of a computer shredding program. In a letter to the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Chaffetz writes, quoting, the department should investigate and determine whether Secretary Clinton or her employees and contractors violated statutes that prohibit destruction of records and concealment or cover-up of evidence material to a congressional investigation.
Here's the very, very troubling news. We learned this on Friday. We learned this from the FBI. The FBI knew that servers were wiped clean, that BlackBerries were smashed and destroyed, and that a laptop was lost in the U.S. mail. The FBI ought to have pursued Mrs. Clinton and the people around her for obstruction of justice, and it did not do so. That is exceptionally distressing. The case against her for failure to secure state secrets is overwhelming. Now the case against somebody, we don't know who, for obstruction of justice is overwhelming, and Megan, the FBI has done nothing. Someone, somewhere, it must be the White House, has restrained the FBI from doing its job.
I want to understand from each of you what it is you think that Congress should not see. See, I believe passionately in the role of Congress. I believe passionately in the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. We were founded in 1814. Every expenditure, everything we do in this Congress, or everything we do in this nation is supposed to be overseen by us. We can investigate anything at any time. That's what's different about the United States of America. We're different because we are self-critical. We do go look under the hood. We do hold people accountable. That's why when Abraham Lincoln joined the United States Congress, he was on this committee. We can't do that when each of the agencies that you all represent decide that, well, we're just going to show you the relevant information. We're not even going to answer your questions. You can't see those documents. That's the way a banana republic acts. It's not the way the United States of America acts. So we expect better, and we expect you to be responsive. And I don't expect to have to issue a subpoena to see unclassified information. Some of you, I had to threaten to send a subpoena just to get you to appear today. We did some math. We got 70 of you sitting here. Between your compensation and your benefits package, you make more than $1 million from taxpayers. Taxpayers are paying you more than $1 million. And you won't even come talk to Congress. What do you do all day if you don't talk to Congress? What is it that you believe we don't have the right to see? See, this is the way our government works. We get to do oversight. That's why since 1814, this committee has been doing that. There's executive privilege. Let me help you. There's executive privilege. Has the president invoked executive privilege in this case? No. The answer is no. Good. That's right. The answer is no. Is there any other situation?
Look, when it comes to classified information and the classification that deals in the executive order, not all the information that we have in our files belongs to us. We defer to other agencies when it comes to access to their classified information.
But you are the ones that put redactions on personal identifiable information, correct?
We did on the personal identifiable information, that's correct.
Where in the Constitution does it say that I can't see that?
It doesn't address it specifically in the Constitution.
Here's the problem. You handpicked the 302s to give to us, but the reality is you should give us all the 302s.
So let me say this. I think that the director made principled decisions about what to say to Congress when he was here and also what to provide to Congress. As far as the
Wait, where do I find that?
Personally
Do we just let everybody in government decide that they're based on their own individual principles? That's what see, it's trust but verify is how it works. You don't get to decide what I get to see. I get to see it all. Will the FBI provide to Congress the full file with no redactions of personal identifiable information?
I cannot make that commitment sitting here today.
Then I'm going to issue a subpoena, and I'm going to do it right now. So let's go. I've signed this subpoena. We want all the 302s, and we would like the full file. You can accept service on behalf of the FBI?
Certainly.
You are hereby served.
Do you understand why Congress might want to know whether or not the attorney-client privilege was waived and who the client was?
I can certainly imagine.
Yeah, me too. That's why we want to see the file, Agent. I mean, you say it's unprecedented. Mr. Cummings used to be a criminal defense attorney. He got to see all your 302s. Ken Buck used to be an assistant United States attorney. He got to see all your 302s. Probation officers get to see all your 302s. Why can't Congress?
So I think we've given you the relevant ones as we've
relevant according to whom? I am telling you, I don't think you've given me all the relevant 302s.
Well, the remainder of the 302s will come out through the FOIA process.
But since when did Congress have to go through FOIA?
Normally this happens when the FBI serves a subpoena,
So that means
but now
it's
it's been served on them.
That means it's not going to happen until after the election. This is going to take a long time.
You know, there are judges sitting in an emergent capacity for applications like this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's resolved by the end of this week.
Whoa! In the world did she take that form that she was given, read through it and sign it, put her name on it and say, I fully understand my responsibility to handle classified documents, and not get indicted?
The form of which you speak followed a 2.5-hour tutorial given to her on day one as Secretary of State by 2 FBI agents, in which they went through line by line the obligation of the Secretary of State to recognize state secrets, confidential, secret, or top secret. Those
Basic
are the 3
stuff.
marking, when she sees them, whether they're stamped with that marking or not. At the end of that tutorial, she signs this very, very detailed pledge, promising and swearing that she understands her obligation is to recognize these secrets. That obligation was violated hundreds of times. The statement we just showed that she said on the plane is 180 degrees from what the FBI says she told her.
Your thoughts?
Thanks, Megan. Well, you did a very good job there of setting forth just how Comey's statement just blew up this tissue of lies that has been told by Secretary Clinton throughout this case. Ending, of course, with his conclusion that while, as he put it at one point, there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, then he goes on to say, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. So he didn't really find necessarily that she hadn't committed a crime. He just said that he didn't think it was a crime that should be prosecuted, which is a different matter entirely, because if you think about it, if he didn't think it was worth prosecuting, all he had to do, when you think about it, is simply turn over his findings to the Department of Justice and leave it to the Department of Justice to make what he described as a prosecutive decision. He declined to do that. In fact, I think what he probably thought, Megan, was that if he did that, there wasn't any chance that the department would bring charges. And if you start thinking about the Obama Justice Department, with Loretta Lynch at its head, the most credible person in the whole place that anybody's ever heard of is James Comey of the FBI. And it's not too much to suggest here, it seems to me, Megan, that he has placed his credibility at the service of what he knew would be the ultimate outcome of this case once it was referred to the Justice Department. Basically what he said is she did everything short of a crime and then lied about it all the way.
While she was being investigated. I don't know if she lied to him, but she repeatedly told the American people a bunch of nonsense.
There is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. We also assess that Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email domain was both known by a large number of people and readily apparent.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
Secretary Clinton said her lawyers read every one of the emails and were overly inclusive. Did her lawyers read the email content individually?
No.
Clinton told FBI agents she could not recall when she got a security clearance. Clinton could not recall briefings or training on the handling of classified information. And Clinton could not recall specialized training for the U.S. government's most closely held secrets, known as special access programs. But the same week Clinton became Secretary of State, she signed 2 non-disclosure agreements where she said she knew the rules and that violating these agreements could result in criminal charges. Clinton also told the FBI that she could not recall the details surrounding the 2009 setup of the ClintonEmail.com domain, whose servers were housed at their Chappaqua, New York home. Clinton said the personal email account was a matter of convenience.
It's implausible, not someone with her background, experience, training. She's an attorney, 25 years in government, and suddenly she has selective amnesia. It's not plausible. It's not believable.
Well, here with reaction from a Republican presidential candidates, Governor Mike Huckabee of Arkansas and Dr. Ben Carson. It is great to see you both. Dr. Carson, first to you. This is kind of definitive then. Hillary Clinton says, I didn't know the rules. That's not a plausible explanation, is it?
It's not a plausible explanation, and her failure to remember anything certainly is not a quality that you would want to see in a president.
So I'm assuming you buy it then. Do you think she wasn't capable of remembering the most basic rules on handling classified material?
Well, it doesn't particularly matter. If she wasn't capable of remembering that, she definitely would not be capable of performing the duties of the president. And if she is lying about it, then that disqualifies her too. I think she's disqualified either way you look at it.
So, Governor Huckabee, just take 3 steps back. We're finding out about this from the FBI on the afternoon of Labor Day weekend, on a Friday, on a holiday weekend. This is a classic way to bury news that you think is going to be damaging to the principal. The FBI is not a political organization, but this move suggests they're acting for political reasons. Do you think that's true? And if so, how discouraging is that for a law enforcement agency to help a political campaign?
Well, the FBI has always been above and beyond the political ramifications. It's one of the reasons that most Americans have an incredibly high respect for the FBI. This hurts the FBI's reputation, hurts James Comey's reputation, but most of all, it damages Hillary Clinton. I mean, for her to claim that she has less memory about what she was briefed on than Jason Bourne knew about his past identity is just not realistic. And I agree with Ben Carson. If she really doesn't remember fundamental facts of national security like this, then she has no business being sworn in as president, and we need to make sure the American people don't make what could be an incredibly irrevocable mistake.
So, Dr. Carson, these 60 pages suggest more stories to come in this way. You have Hillary Clinton in the FBI's account losing somehow 13 different PDAs, some cell phones. You have her using her device in foreign countries. You have her with a SCIF, which is supposed to be a bug-proof room in her house and office that is not secure. This suggests that she was more vulnerable even than we knew to attacks by foreign intelligence agencies. Do you think we're going to be hearing that story before Election Day?
I hope so, but here's the other thing that we have to consider. Because she had such vital information in such insecure places, I think probably the Chinese, the Russians, and some others probably have some of that information. Now, what would it be like to have a president who could be blackmailed by other nations because they have information that she doesn't want to come out?
Well, that is the question. That is absolutely the question. And I think it's a major concern for the intelligence agencies in this country. Governor Huckabee, tell us, I mean, you, of course, are from Arkansas. You were 3-term governor of Arkansas. You know the Clintons very well. They're smart people. They try to cover all the bases. They're paranoid. They're aware of their public perception. Why would Mrs. Clinton behave in a manner this reckless? What would motivate her to do that?
Because for so long, Tucker, she and her husband have gotten away with living by a different set of rules than everybody else. You know, we remember back in 2008, the big banks were protected because they were too big to fail. And I think what we have is a Hillary Clinton who thinks she's too big to jail. She thinks that these rules that apply to everybody else in government are for them, for the little people.
That is, these emails are now confirming precisely that. Look, the Clinton Foundation is playing a major role in Hillary Clinton's State Department determining which foreign officials she's meeting with, you know, who is going to have her ear or senior policymakers' ears on policy. And these are not, you know, just American corporations. These are foreign oligarchs who have their own agendas, Gilbert Chagoury being an example. Why this guy, who is connected with a movement in Lebanon that is allied with Hezbollah, that was on the national federal do not fly list in the United States, is being given access to top decision makers at the State Department by Doug Band of the Clinton Foundation is beyond me, and it's evidence of this play to pay corruption.
But you got this guy, Doug Band, who works for the Clinton Foundation. While Hillary's Secretary of State, he makes the entree to Uma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, and it seems that every time he does, that the connection is made for the people that gave money. Over half the meetings she had with private citizens are people that donated or pledged to donate. Well, that sounds like she's selling out.
Finally, here at home, in one of her first decisions as Secretary of State, she set up a private email server in her basement in violation of our national security. Let's face the facts. Hillary Clinton cared more about protecting her own secrets than she cared about protecting America's secrets. And then she lied about it over and over and over again. She said there was no marked classified information on her server. The FBI director said that's untrue. She said that she did not email any classified information. The FBI director says that's untrue. She said all work-related emails were sent back to the State Department. The FBI director said that's not true. So, as to Hillary Clinton, the charge of putting herself ahead of America, guilty or not guilty.
What if the government is wrong? What if it is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's greatest hour of danger is now?
I've tried to live my life the best I could. I hope that was enough. I hope that at least in your eyes, I've earned what all of you have done for me.
Check this out. Right here, reported 2016, August 19th. U.S. Navy sailor jailed for taking photos of classified areas of a nuclear submarine. A U.S. Navy sailor was sentenced on Friday to a year in prison for taking photos of classified areas inside a nuclear attack submarine while it was in port in Connecticut. This guy, Christian Saucier, admitted to taking 6 photos of classified areas inside the USS Alexandria in 2009 when it was in Groton, and he was a 22-year-old machinist mate on the submarine. The photos showed the nuclear reactor compartment, the auxiliary steam propulsion panel, and the maneuvering compartment, prosecutors said. Saucier took the photos knowing they were classified, but did so only to be able to show his family and future children what he did while he was in the Navy, his lawyers said. He denied sharing the photos with any unauthorized recipient. Check this out. Federal prosecutors said the FBI and Naval Criminal Investigative Service were never able to determine if the photos had been distributed to unauthorized people because Saucier destroyed the key evidence, including his laptop computer, a camera, and a memory card, after an interview with the FBI in 2012. So this guy, Saucier, took pictures, compared his case to the Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, and wonders why he got sent to prison for 1 year, and she hasn't even had her security clearance revoked. I'm going to put a link so you can see this for yourself. This is what's going on. News doesn't talk about this. It's up to us as Americans to find this stuff out. You want to see some other things? Check this out. A report on the Financial Times, Newsmax. I'll put a link on that so you can check it out yourself too. Financial Times. U.S. gives Mexico $75 million aid for an anti-immigrant wall. Amid talk of Donald Trump's plan to build a border wall between the United States and Mexico, Mexico itself has an invisible wall along its southern border with Central America as migrants head north. A Financial Times story details Mexico's role in stopping people from getting into its country from Guatemala. A reported 175,000 Central Americans were deported from Mexico in 2015, a 68% jump from 2014. And so far, in 2016, that number is approaching 100,000. The Times claims the U.S. is sending Mexico $75 million in the form of equipment and training to help shore up its southern border. Ultimately, some of the Central American migrants wind up at America's southern doorstep. Stopping them from entering Mexico is the first line of defense. So, they're building a wall themselves and deporting illegal immigrants while getting money, $75 million, to do it. This is the research that I'm talking about. This is the research. And you want to know? I'm going to be honest with you. Because it's kind of hard to imagine, like, how did you bump into this? Where do I even begin? If I can't trust CNN, MSNBC, all those places, where do you get your info from? How do I find that out? You want to know where I found out about this? And look, this is Financial Times. This isn't some made-up website. You want to know how I found out about this? InfoWars. Infowars.com. That's how I found out about this. You know how I double-checked it? I heard Alex Jones talk about this. And you know what I did? This is what we all need to do. You know what I did? I asked myself, is this guy BSing me or not? So I looked it up and I found out this isn't a lie. This is all happening. We need to do our research for the people that died for us. Think of them. Think of what they've done for us. And we can't take 10 minutes? 5 minutes to read this? To read this? About the U.S. Navy sailor who got sent to prison for 1 year? Protect the truth and protect America. It's the least we can do. God bless.